New World is a game I got a fair amount of excitement and anticipation for. We've got just over a week until it releases. With that said, the MMO genre has been in a unique, if not weird place for a while now, with only a few real options for those of us who love these kind of games. Runescape. This game stole so many hours of my evenings after school as a kid, and the old school release of the game still holds a special place for me. I still play it from time to time, but even with the additional features, it's the same old game it's always been, and you can only reach top level or complete all of the skills so many times before you're moving on to the next game. World of Warcraft has been swamped in controversy this last year, and it really hasn't helped its player-based numbers at all, stooping from a 7 million player peak at the end of 2020 down to only 2.2 million daily players in the last 30 days. I can understand why people are still latching on. WoW is a game that holds a special place in many of our hearts. It's a game that we've played for years, and I've personally returned to it countless times. But I play and I stop so many times because, well, it's all things I've experienced before. The Elder Scrolls Online is a game recently I've sunk so many hours into, having vastly improved since its extremely rocky launch. I love it, but much like RuneScape, however, you can only play it so many times, and it doesn't really offer anything that the other MMOs can't offer instead. And then we also have Final Fantasy XIV, which I haven't had a whole lot of experience with, I'll be honest with you guys. But when you look at the features, it's a great game. It's a great MMO, but it's somewhat dated. And that's something that all of these games have in common. Although these games release updates, DLCs and more on a pretty regular basis, they're fairly old. They still hold loyal fan bases that will never leave, but there's a large number of people out there like me and you, potentially, that are bouncing between MMO to MMO, trying to find something fresh and innovative. There's a void there, a gap potentially in the market, just waiting for somebody to come in. We haven't had an MMO really come in and make waves in a long time. And this, I think, is the reason so many game fanatics, MMO lovers like you and I are flocking to Final Fantasy XIV, which has almost tripled its player base in the last 12 months. It's super impressive. But if you're like me, you'll be thinking now that what we really need is something new. And I hope that New World can revitalize that. Revitalize the genre and push something really interesting that's never been done before. But can New World really save the MMO genre? Can it fill the gap in the market for the nomads like you and I looking for a place, a game to settle down and sink our teeth into for more than just a few months before we move on to another game? Well, for one, it's a new game, and that simply gives it a chance. With a huge bulk of funding behind it from Amazon Games themselves, you'd hope for success and endless resources. I'm looking at you, Jeffrey Bezos. New World boasts a wide range of new mechanics that have rarely been seen executed well in previous MMO titles. While many things may feel familiar, such as linear fetch quests, crafting and dungeons, they all have their own unique twist which seems to fit well in the world that Amazon Game Studios have created. The game's stance on PvP and PvE, for instance, the mechanics stand out, with its core being centered around the game's war mode, which sees 100 players go head-to-head in a fight over an ever-changing territory map. New World's weapon skilling system is also unique, scrapping the regular system of skilling up a class or an ability and instead having unique ability skill lines for each weapon type that they use. These weapons range from warhammers to muskets, and the combat, it really stands out for me, the combat, because it requires a little bit more skill than most conventional button spamming MMOs, leaving the player to manually aim in order to hit specific hitboxes on other players or AI, providing more use to the block and dodge maneuvers in the game. But we should speak about the negatives, or at least what I consider the negatives. New World is repetitive. This is something I noticed when I played the betas. It's repetitive. It really is. It gives the players continuous fetch and kill quests, which, although may be familiar to us, I was hoping for more story-based content with unique mechanics and something just fresh and new. The game also lacks one key element that I personally love in MMOs, and this might just be a personal gripe. But the game won't launch with mounts, and maybe there's a good reason for this. It makes the world feel quite large, and the travel times between quests or between settlements, or between where you are now and where you want to be, it can be aggravatingly long and tiring, especially given that the game lacks a sprint key. Luckily, there is an auto run. The studio also decided to return to the MMO roots when it comes to finding a group for your dungeons. There's no dungeon group finder. As far as I'm aware, the game forces you to find your own group in game, which could turn out to be a blessing or a curse. Until the game actually releases next week, we won't know for sure if this game will revitalize the MMO genre, if it'll bring something new, but we can safely say it will become, or it may become, a rival for these top flight MMOs I mentioned earlier in the video, bringing in 200,000 concurrent players in its beta back in July, which is almost unheard of for, an early access launch. I'd like to pass the question off to you guys. What do you think that New World might do to the MMO market? Are you going to be playing? And do you think the bubble will burst? Do you think New World will die out? Or do you think it will be a success? Let me know. You made it to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, easy to follow, and you liked the opinion, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Drop a subscription if you feel like it, and I'll see you in the next one.